I bring you greetings from Research Lodge number 147, working under the most wishful John G. Jones Grand Lodge, California, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons. Greetings. A few evenings ago, there was a video that I was doing. It was called John G. Jones versus Prince Hall Think Tank. That video, if you seen it, was to be a conversation in regards to why we as Black Masons are unable to have a conversation. In other words, it should have been a decent and orderly conversation. That evening, Brother Christopher Jackson, who's a member of St. John's Grand Lodge out of Chicago, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons. Also, Brother Debo, who's from Delaware. Brother King Musa, who's out of Chicago also, who's part of a French lodge. Myself, along with Brother Ron Foster from Texas. We were all online having a go back and forth, but it was really, the energy was really negative energy. So after watching that video a couple of times, it went about 2 hours and 4 minutes. But after watching that video a couple of times, it was decided after having a conversation and listening and good counsel from brothers that video be pulled, because that is not how we as Masons are supposed to conduct ourselves. It was not about whether John got the upper hand or nothing like that. But if you've seen that video, that is not how Masons are supposed to treat each other and talk to each other at all. So with good counsel, I pulled the video. Now, a lot was said during that particular video in regards to John G. Jones and, him being expelled, kicked out, beat up, and everything. However, this evening, we're going to take it from the top. We're going to take it from the top because we tend to dismiss everything beforehand. And it has us at odds with each other. Over 100 and some years has gone by. And Black Masons haven't gotten their act together yet, because that's not something that is being taught. In Masonry, we are supposed to be of a outstanding citizens, people who put their faith in God, individual who are supposed to be good husbands, good fathers, upright citizen, carry ourselves a certain way. That's what we display. However, in that video, we sounded like gang members. Absolutely. And it goes to show you, after the death of Nipsey Hussle, I seen over 1,000 gang members, Bloods, Cribs, Disciples, you name it. They came together to unite and to curb the violence in their neighborhood. And we as Mason has yet even to come to the table and sit down and have a conversation, saying that we are supposed to be some of the most educated people around. But yet, I seen those gang members. And it really saddened me that we as Masons couldn't do the same. So that video was about having a conversation, but it went way left, way quick, and it had to be pulled because that's not what we do as Masons. And before I pulled that video, I read the comments. I seen what you had to say. But one post stood out amongst all. It was like 100. But one post stood out amongst all the others. And it was from a gentleman by the name of Jamal. This individual said he was interested in becoming a Mason. But after seeing that video, he said, no, how could he be part of an organization like that? How could he? And I don't blame him. I don't. That is not how we're supposed to carry ourselves. However, this evening, I'm going to take it from the top and show you how we begin and why we begin to treat each other this way. Follow me if you will. I'm going to come to you first from this particular book right here. This is Scottish Rite Volume number 1. Please, if you can get one. And I'm going to start with page 27. I'm going to start off with the Grand Lodge of England and how it was organized, okay? Not the United Grand Lodge of England, but the Grand Lodge of England. There's a difference. So let's start off at 1717. Apple Tree Tavern, okay? Where several Masonic brothers from various lodges got together. What they did was, it says there was 4 decaying lodges of workmen, masons, accustomed to initiating their apprentice, journeymen, and masters in a night of drinking. So they was having a night of drinking, and it was accustomed to initiate during that time. The apprentice, the journeyman, and master. Okay? Now they met at the tavern in February, and on June the 24th, they formed the first Grand Lodge. Okay? They formed the first Grand Lodge and assumed power to charter, to tax, and to govern all Masonic lodges around the world. This is their words, not mine. They assumed the power after organizing their Grand Lodge to charter and to tax and to govern all lodges around the world. Then it goes on to say it says that by declaring irregular all lodges that did not receive a charter from them. So if you did not get your charter from the Grand Lodge of England, at that time, they would consider you to be irregular. Today we say clandestine. That's how they did it. And then they say after that, masonry began to spread across the world. Okay, let's see where it begins to spread to. It said that it went through. Let me get back over here. It said, I lost the spot. Okay, right here. It said that masonry began to spread successfully across the world. France, Ireland, Germany, Switzerland, the United States, Belgium, Holland, Spain, Portugal, Turkey, Asia, and New Holland. Across the world it began to spread. But you had to get your charter from the Grand Lodge of England to consider to be regular. And you had to pay taxes in order to get your charter. You know, read it for yourself. This was a money grab. This is how they did it. All right? They didn't ask anybody permission, did they? Now, let's move on. Let's talk about John G. Jones. Harrison stated that Jones was expelled or kicked out of his own organization by William T. Grant. That's what he said. And I'm not calling, that's what he said. Now, in this book right here, this is the United Supreme Council, Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite for the Southern and Western Masonic Jurisdiction, April 5th, 1869 to August 30th, 1960. These are the minutes and transactions of the General Grand Masonic Congress along with the United Supreme Council. Okay? Nowhere in this book does it list William T. Grant as the president of the General Grand Masonic Congress. However, it does have him being a high officer, ranking officer in the Supreme Council. It has him listed as that. But he's never been a sitting President General of the General Grand Masonic Congress while Jones was living. Let me tell you why. Jones was the most puissant sovereign Grand Commander from 1895 up until his death in 1914. He was also the Imperial Potentate from 1893 up until his death, 1914. He was also the president general. He was over all of those three bodies. He was the man up until his death. So how could William T. Grant be the president for the General Grand Masonic of Congress at that time? No way. Now, he also talked about William T. Grant and J.J. Burnell, how they talked about Jones being arrested in Brooklyn and a whole lot of stuff, Jones being beat up. He said it. If you've seen the video, you know I'm not lying. He said it. However, he failed to mention a few other names. Now, this is the letter or the transaction in regards to Jones' 1912 trip to Luxembourg. This is the letter that Jones wrote. I have highlighted some of the names that he didn't mention that was on that trip also. Now, he didn't mention H.T. Brodess. Okay, he didn't mention H.C. Scott. He didn't mention J.C. White. He didn't mention C.L. Mitchell. All right. He didn't mention W.E. Reed. He didn't mention Brother R. Adams. None of those names did he mention. Now, they were also part of the delegates at that time. No names are mentioned at all. None whatsoever. But however, he told a story in regards to, now I'm not going to say he told a story, but he informed us that Jones was expelled and Jones was beat up and thrown in jail and everything. These are the things that William T. Grant said and also J.J. Burrell. But he also didn't mention S.P. Parrott or Parrott, P-R-A-T-T. He didn't mention J.M. Maddox. These are individuals that was on that trip also. They didn't turn their back on Jones at all. Okay, so let's go on from there. The information I'm about to bring to you now comes from, I have to make these copies, okay? But this reference comes from the Plumb Line, Volume 1, Number 2, July 1910. Also the Plumb Line, Volume 1, Number 6, April 11th, page number 4. Also the Proceedings of Louisiana, 1903, page 206, page 206 and page 207. All right. This is what I'm going to read to you from that information that I found. And it also includes that Jones was beat up. He was arrested. It includes that. All right. So it states that John G. Jones, as we all know, was a member of Prince Hall, PHA, Grand Lodge of Illinois. Okay. It says that here. It also says that he was a member of John Jones Lodge 7, which was named after his uncle, who was the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Iowa at the time. That's where the name comes from. It also says that Jones was a secretary from 1847 to from 1874 to 1875. Okay, Grand Secretary. It also says that he was also the Deputy Grand Master. Okay, he was a Deputy Grand Master for a year. Now, Jones was such a man that in 1877, after the Compact of Grand Lodges, the National Compact of Grand Lodges was supposed to have been shut down May 6, 1877. That was supposed to have been the last transaction for the National Compact of Grand Lodges. But that's not true, because the National Grand Lodge still exists today under the banner PHO. You see, PHO and PHA has the same direct history. The same direct history up until that time. Okay? And that's when they go their separate ways. And that's when John G. Jones really comes on the scene in 1877. Now, I'm going to share this with you. So it says that Jones was suspended. Okay? This is what he was suspended for. Having invaded the District of Columbus, attempting to convert a 33rd in violation of the Constitution of the Supreme Council, for having formed a Supreme Council in opposition. This is why they say he was suspended, for having formed a Supreme Council in opposition to the one which gave him the 33rd. That's what they say. And then it goes on to say that, Jones organized the Shriners in 1893. It gives me all of that. Now, here's what I want you to understand and listen to. It says that on October the 22nd, 1895, John G. Jones with several others met at the home of Dorsey Fields, Seville, and organized another Supreme Council, Northwest Enterprise. That was the name of the Supreme Council that John G. Jones was supposed to have organized. It is called Northwest Enterprise. And this was supposed to have taken place in Seattle, Washington, June 5th, 1894. And then it says on October 25th, 1895, Thornton Jackson, Grand Commander of the Supreme Council of Prince Hall Mason, issued an order advising that John G. Jones had been suspended. Now, we all know that John G. Jones incorporated the Supreme Council, Southern and Western Masonic Jurisdiction in Washington, D.C., April the 5th, 1895. But they said that Jones was expelled or suspended from the Supreme Council October the 25th, 1895. All right? I'm telling you what I'm reading here, not something that I wrote myself. This is from the Plumb Line. Like I said, this is from the Plumb Line, Volume 1, Number 2, dated July 1910. Jones still alive. Also the Plumb Line, Volume 1, Number 5, April 1911. Jones still alive. Also the Proceedings of Louisiana, 1903. Jones is still alive at the time that this was written. Okay? Now, it says also that records exist to illustrate the high esteem Jones had held by his friends. Now, it says this here, and this is the records from the Supreme Council, Prince Hall. It says on May 6, 1880, over the signature of Thornton A. Jackson, Grand Commander of the Southern and Western Masonic Jurisdiction, Scottish Rite, John G. Jones was elected Sovereign Grand Inspector General, active member for life. Then it goes on to say, on March 25th, 1887, over the signature of John H. Handy, Grand Commander of the same Scottish Rite jurisdiction, Jones was re-elected life member. And then it goes on to say, in view of all of the foregoing, it must be said that Jones was a man of high standards. Okay? I'm just saying. So for brothers to claim that Jones started an organization and Grand Lodges and they was bogus and this and that and that and this, there's a lot going on. Also, I read the affidavit from Jones, who stated that he never affiliated with any clandestine Masons. At that time, Jones could not stand the compact of Grand Lodges. He couldn't. Okay? And let me show you how much he couldn't stand them. Coors Masonic Encyclopedia, 1961, page 439. Okay? I have it highlighted right here. Okay? 2 pages I want you to pay attention to. On page 439 and also page 440. It says this in regards to the National Compact of Grand Lodges, as it was known then. It says excerpts from this publication related to the formation of the National Grand Lodge of 1847. We all know what happened in 1847. That is when African Lodge number 449, under the leadership of John T. Hilton, declared themselves independent from anybody. They separated themselves from England because they hadn't heard anything from them. They tried to get a charter from them and it was denied. Okay? That happened in 1847. That was the letter that John T. Hilton had wrote, and that was from African Lodge number 459. Okay, so in 1847, let's take a look at what happened in 1877. So in 1877, it says that May 16 in 1877, that was supposed to have been the last convention for the National Compact of Grand Lodges. But we know that that organization still exists today under the National Grand Lodge, okay? PHO. That organization still exists. So this is what happened. After that convention, there were states that withdrew and there were states that was expelled by the National Compact. Now, the National Compact issued all charters to Grand Lodges. They did. They issued all charters to Grand Lodges during that time. Now, upon expelling some Grand Lodges, what those Grand Lodges did, they became sovereign and what you call state Grand Lodges. And in the process, afterwards, check this out. It says that ensuring that these bodies had subordinate Grand Lodges in 27 states. So the National had 27 Grand Lodges still in existence after they had expelled Grand Lodges, and those Grand Lodges became state Grand Lodges, okay, or sovereign Grand Lodges. It says through the name, though the names are not given, they didn't give the names of these Grand Lodges. It said these must be added a group called John G. Jones Affiliation. This is the first time this is mentioned about John G. Jones. John G. Jones Affiliation. Then it goes on to say it was named for their founder, a Chicago lawyer of color. It is commonly supposed that these three groups, which is the National, PHA, and John G. Jones, made up the bulk of black masonry at that time. Now, mind you, he was supposed to be still a member of PHA. I got this information out of Coors Masonic Encyclopedia, page 439, 1961 version. Okay? Now, it just goes to show you there's a lot of information out there. Now, I don't know if John has this information or not, but he might want to check it out for himself and see what comes up. He may also want to try to get a hold of this here book here, The Transaction of Minutes, with the General Grand Masonic Congress and the United Supreme Council from 1869 to 1960. This is where I'm getting my information from. Also, this book right here was sent to me by Brother White, okay? Full of information. This book is Zosir Research Society versus Flex Research Society, Prince Hall Affiliation. It was a good debate. You need to get it. Check it out for yourself. I got information from this book also. So as we proceed, this book right here, this is a good book. Landmarks of Our Father by John Harrison. Good book. But let's see what John had to say about Prince Hall, because you must know that John was a member of Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington State at one time. And now he's a member of Prince Hall Grand Lodge of State for Washington State, the mainstream Grand Lodge. So let's see what happened during that time. And this is on page 51, as a matter of fact. John did some good research. He really did. So let's see what John had to say. He said that on page 59, I think it's the second paragraph, it says, if we are to believe that Prince Hall approached St. Andrews in 1775 and cast doubt on the Irish Military Lodge involvement in its initiation in 1775. Again, the documents from the African Lodge records are clear. There is a list of brethren who were made by Grand Master Batt, B-A-T-T. But Batt was supposed to have been a member of the Irish Lodge, right? That was supposed to have initiated those brothers that formed the Prince Hall, that formed African Lodge, am I right? But it listed him as Grand Master. Batt was never a Grand Master. one lodge cannot issue another lodge a charter, which was done under BAT, which was a military lodge. May 6, 1778, a list of 15 made Masons with the same date and an account of money paid to BAT for services with no documentation from 1775 to 1778. Listen to this. There's no documentation from 1775 to 1778. That's 3 years. The United Supreme Council out of Charleston, North Carolina, has no records for 10 years. They have no records. Okay, under Albert Pike, 10 years they have no record, but they was in existence. Check this out. It says to verify any other initiation of documents recorded from May 6, 1778, served as a premier source for the initiated date for Prince Hall and his brothers. The opposition would have to be debated from a position of having no documentation. The burden of piecing together a story with no real sources. Even those sources there could be used would not directly support the fabrication of 1775 and 1776. So he's telling you that that lodge, African Lodge, was not chartered under 1775 nor 1776. Those are his words from his book. And then he goes on to say, if Prince Hall and the brothers were made by an Irish military lodge, or even John Batt on March 6, 1775, an Irish military lodge, and John Batt remained in Boston another year, then why not go to Ireland in 1775 to receive a charter from which they received? They received their charter from John Batt, who was part of an Irish military lodge. So why not go to Ireland to get your charter? Just want you to think for a moment. Then it says in a letter to William Moody, Moody, March 2nd, 1784, it says, why did Prince Hall omit the fact that there was an alleged earlier permit issued from Irish Lodge number 441 in 1776? He didn't even mention that. Then he goes on to say, why did he omit the fact that the members of African Lodge was allegedly raised in an Irish lodge, okay? 441 in 1775. He didn't mention that. He says, where's the permit issued by Rowan, R-O-W-E, and where was it issued? There's a lot of questions John is asking. There's a lot of questions. He's asking this in regards to Prince Hall and their history. Huh? Now who's clandestine? Who's bogus? Now check this out. It says, where's the permit that was issued by either John Batt or the Irish Military Lodge? 441. Why would Prince Hall accept a permit from John Rowe and carry the same restrictions the permit was holding from Batt? They only said that you was able to bury your dead, okay, and walk in parades. Initiate, raise, and pass? Nah. You had a dispensation, not a charter from that Irish lodge. Okay? And the killer, let me go through this once more. Let me see something. Now, hold on. The killer to all of this, it says on page 72, it says, it is safe to say that John Batt operated alone in conferring of the degrees of Freemasonry on these African American men. This is what John said. And you talking about John G. Jones conferring degrees? John Batt did it on those 14 and took their money. Come on now, talk back to me. Now, check this out. Now, that's out of John book. This is a good book, I must say. This is a good book. If you're going to throw stones, stones are coming right back at you. I'm just saying, if we're going to the debate, let it be decently and orderly. Let it be more of a conversation piece to educate us, to bring us together. Let's not throw stones and rocks and bricks. This is what this is all about. Okay, so check this out. Not only that, you remember the case where Prince Hall took the Washington, D.C. Grand Lodge, Ancient, Free, and Accepted Mason to court? You remember that? They took him to court. They won the first case. Then they lost the second one on appeal. This case was all about not just the legitimacy of the Grand Lodge, but could they actually operate as a Grand Lodge in the same state with Prince Hall? They won that on appeal. They won that case. Now, this is coming from the book called LaTroy. It's called LaTroy Fremo. All right. This is by my brother Christopher Tabb. I'm just going to share some information with you. Now, during that time, okay, this court case, let me see, this court case was February 1st, 1910. John G. Jones is still living. Check this out. It says that the court case number is 2007, was heard by Chief Justice Shepard of Court of Appeal of Washington, D.C. The United States of America Court of Appeal rendered that because H.C. Scott and John G. Jones and others had received proper charters from the White Grand Lodge of Romania, that this made them only regular and legal color masons in Washington, D.C. This court action was to settle a long and bitter contest and lawsuit that had been in court nearly 4 years. 4 years between the two color Grand Lodges. W.H. Grenshaw, Grand Master of Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Washington, D.C. versus H.C. Scott, Grand Master of the regular Grand Lodge, Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons of Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Do I believe that John G. Jones or H.C. Scott actually had documentation from the Grand Lodge of Romania to open lodges? I don't have that information. But I will tell you this. Ollie Spencer has gone over to Romania and has had a sit down and has worked that issue out. That's a fact. You know. Also, I can say this here. At the time right now, there are 4 different Grand Lodges over in Romania. 4 Grand Lodges over in Romania. Only one of them is recognized by the Grand Lodge of England. But that's not to say that the rest of them are clandestine or irregular. It's not to say that. It is clear to say that they operate independently from each other, but yet they get along. Talk back to me something. I'm just saying, this is public information. All right? So let's check these Grand Lodges. The Grand Lodges that went to court at the time. So you had Grand Lodge of Florida. Okay? Brother S.P. Peratt, Grand Master. Grand Lodge of Illinois. Brother Grand Master at the time was John G. Jones. Grand Lodge of Alabama. Brother J.H. Megger. Grand Lodge of New York. Brother J.J. Burrell was with him at the time. That was the one that supposedly wrote those bad things about John G. Jones being beat up and kicked and all that stuff. Also, Grand Master District at the District of Columbia at that time was Brother H.C. Scott. Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, Brother H.T. Brodus. Grand Lodge of California, Brother R.J. Fletcher. Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, Brother J.C. White. Grand Lodge of Texas, Brother Charles L. Mitchell, C.L. Mitchell, Grand Master. Grand Lodge of Arkansas, Brother R. Amos. Grand Lodge of Tennessee, Brother J.W.E. Reed. Grand Lodge of Louisiana, Brother George C. Williams. Grand Lodge of Mississippi, Brother James F. Fagan, F-A-G-O-N. Grand Lodge of New Jersey, Brother L. Gordon, Grand Master. All those Grand Lodges was taken to court, and they won on the appeal. Now, as I said before, did John G. Jones receive permission to operate as a Grand Lodge or the lodges? I don't know. I don't have that information. But what I do have, I'm gonna share with you what I do have in regards to that. What I do have is this. August 22nd, 1896. Colored Masons recognized by their white brethren. The Supreme Council of the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite Masons, 33rd degree for the state of Louisiana jurisdiction, which is a white body of Masons and composed of some of the leading white Scottish Rite Masons in the country. It's from Louisiana. It's the Supreme Council of Louisiana. The Supreme Council of the state of Louisiana has membership of over 5,000 members. They have officially recognized the Colored United Supreme Council of the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite for the Southern and Western Masonic Jurisdiction, United States of America, Grand Orient, Washington, D.C. This Supreme Council has some of the following culture and distinguished members with it, which are as follows, and they give the list. And including in that list is John G. Jones. This is August the 22nd, 1896. If you know anything about the Supreme Council of Louisiana, it is one of the oldest Supreme Councils in the United States besides the one in North Carolina. They practice their degree work from first degree all the way up. They govern their Grand Lodges. That's what they do. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to share something else with you. I'm going to share something else with you. 1901. 1901. Very important year for a couple of reasons. Okay. So we must understand that John G. Jones is the most puissant sovereign grand commander during this time for the Southern and Western Masonic jurisdiction. But in 1901, this is what Jones did. It says again, white Masons recognize the colored Masons. Okay. It says the Supreme Council for the Colored Scottish Rite of the 33rd United States is recognized by the Supreme Council Scottish Rite of Romania. Good news has reached the colored Masons in the United States, and they are congratulating each other upon the effect that the white Supreme Council of the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Romania, which body is composed of entirely white Masons, among whom are some of the most learned Masons and scholars in that country. Romania is the kingdom of the Southeast Europe and has a population of over 6 million people. They have officially recognized the United Supreme Council of the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Colored Masons for the Southern and Western Masonic Jurisdiction, United States of America, its territories and independence, which is presided over by the illustrious John G. Jones, 33rd. This is in 1901, of Chicago, Illinois, who is the sovereign grand commander. They negotiated between these two distinguished bodies of Scottish Rite Masons have been pending for some time. Now, they said this has been pending for some time. All right. Then it goes on to say, but it was only recently that the works was accomplished. The correspondence was conducted by the illustrious John G. Jones, 33rd of Chicago. They have also extended him a fraternal and cordial invitation to visit their country and attend the next annual session of the Supreme Council, which would be held in 1902. Now, this is before Jones had got expelled. Now, I'm just saying. Now, he's the most puissant sovereign grand commander, headed to Romania in 1902, but he was suspended in 1903 indefinitely. Now, who are these Masons that are following John G. Jones? Because he has to, now, as it is known, in order to be a 33rd or any of these independent bodies, you must be a Master Mason in somebody's Grand Lodge. So who are these Master Masons following John G. Jones? Explain that to me. If St. John's Grand Lodge wasn't already around before this time, okay, who are those Masons? Because clearly we know that there was a split within Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Illinois, PHA. There was clearly a split, okay, at that time. All right. So let's go on. It says, which would be held in 1902. Prejudice amongst people of all over the land is beginning to die out, and that people are traveling in foreign countries. God bless you. This is from 19. This is the Washington Bee. The Washington Bee, November 16th, 1901. Okay, this is where this information is coming from. All right, check that out for yourself. Washington Bee, 1901. Now, take a look at this. In 1900, we know that Prince Hall, Ancient Arabic Order Nobles of the Mystery Shrine, was organized. How could you organize that organization in 1900 when John G. Jones is clearly the most puissant sovereign is clearly the imperial potentate during that same time? Who chartered you? Don't tell me Jones chartered you, because right now we know that there are like 3 or 4 imperial councils still around that's using the name Ancient Arabic Order Nobles of the Mystery Shrine under the lineage of John G. Jones. We know that for a fact. So to say that John G. Jones chartered, or to say that John G. Jones organized the ancient ancient Egypt Order Nobles of the Mystery Shrine is a lie. He didn't do it. Okay? He didn't do it at all, because he was still the imperial potentate at the time over the Ancient Arabic Order Nobles of the Mystery Shrine. Come on. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't throw rocks and say what John G. Jones was doing, when your own history, by your own past grand historian, John Hanson, who wrote this book, clearly says that someone right. It's either too much coffee and it's dark, or too much cream, which is light, in that coffee. I'm just saying. So you can take that or let it alone. Now, with all of that being said, I'm just here to point out some things that we must understand. For too long, we have been in these opposite corners of the world, debating and going back and forth over something that we had nothing to do with as a people. Something between 2 individuals, Thornton A. Jackson and Prince Hall. John G. Jones and Thornton A. Jackson. Those 2 individuals are dead and gone. And you mean to tell me that we who are black educated people can't come to the table and have a simple conversation? I'm not saying that we need to recognize each other. I ain't saying nothing like that. I'm saying that we must respect each other's and practice the principles in Freemasonry, for which we all claim that we love and enjoy. So look, there's more information I can share with you, but I'm going to go right now, because I think I've done enough. I think that you get the picture for which I'm trying to paint. Take that or let it alone. I'm yours truly. I'm out.